We promised an orange and blue today, too. And we are here for you, Cecil, Lammey, Andrew, Mason, and Mace. We were expecting to be doing a mini camp wrap-up show on Thursday, but we're doing it Wednesday night because Sean Payton said, enough.
OBT2, the deuce, in honor of a deuce of mini camp practices. Instead of 3, only 2. Sean Payton called it off. Told the players this morning, we're done after this practice. Everybody go and scatter. The offseason begins a day early. And so it's a question. Why call it off? Did you see enough to where this was done? Like, what I asked him specifically was this decision planned or was it based upon what you saw?
Here's what Coach had to say.
This was more a byproduct of what we've been seeing, where we're at, and I like where we're at.
What are some of the things that made it such a good spring practice?
Well, I think we have good competition. Obviously, on all the numbers, all the metrics that we track, you can kind of see it. We measure it now, catapult, and you see the distance, I won't bore you, the miles per hour, all that stuff, and then the attendance, but I'd say the competition, kind of sharpens things, and we have it at a lot of spots, and so, it was different. It felt different this year, and in a good way.
They can measure the effort, literally, with GPS data.
That's actually really interesting to think about.
Yep.
You can actually get numbers to see how guys are hustling.
Mm-hmm.
Not just in terms of how they hit the hole if you're a running back, but how you're running it out, how you're finishing. I was thinking about that today when they were in a special teams period, and Jaleel McLaughlin just kept up at full gallop all the way down the field.
Ooh, so fast.
Just didn't get out of fifth gear. Like, he is a fireball of energy, is Jaleel.
Yep.
And that's how you measure effort. And the other thing is when you see guys like him, like Blake Watson, bringing a lot of energy. Marvin Mims Jr. is doing that as well.
Yeah, had some speed today.
Yeah, and it's okay. It ups the ante for some of the more experienced players. Like, okay, yeah, if this is what's being expected, and especially with this team leaning into being young, even the vets, like, I got to find that gear as well. A guy who was really going forth with a lot of explosion here the last couple of days was Samaje Perine, an old pro with the beard to match. And he was moving around, exploding like he was a rookie.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why, other than Jaleel McLaughlin, I can't put any of these running backs in pen. Samaje putting forth that effort. And Mace, let's tell a little tale. And I don't believe I'll get in trouble for this.
Okay.
Jaleel McLaughlin runs everything out. Everything.
Yes.
When we first, and we've seen 5 off-season practices, right? Not including rookie minicamp. We've seen 5 with the full squad. Okay. Yep. And at the beginning, in the first practice, guys like Samaje, Javonte, and Blake Watson did not run it out. Even Blake, we love Blake, but they didn't run it out. Guess what everybody did today?
Running it out. They finished up strong. Dug deep to give that little extra, that little bit more.
Jaleel influence.
Yes. If Jaleel can do it, why can't I? Jaleel's kind of the golden child for the coaches right now. I asked Joe Lombardi about Jaleel and he lit up. It's they love that dude. They absolutely love that dude.
Mm-hmm.
They love him because he works his tail off. Like, there's no downshifting for Jaleel. It's max effort all the time. And guys see that, and it's a challenge. It's a challenge to everybody. And Are you going to meet that, or are you going to let this guy lap you? When you see the rest of the team meeting that, that's a sign that you're starting to build a culture here. Like, okay, this is what we're expecting the effort to be. And it's not just scattered players. It's the entire body of work, to where you're surprised when you don't see it. Now, the test is going to be training camp, when those dog days stack up and you're going 5 days in a row and, going hard every day. And what does it look like on that 5th day? But I think we're going to see the proper response to it. I think we're going to see that this is going to be, that when you have the energy and burst coming from a young player, that's the rising tide that raises everybody's effort, raises all the boats.
Yep. The culture has been set. The expectations have been set. And it is guys like Jaleel McLaughlin. He's not the only one, though. You talk about guys up front that are fun to watch. John Franklin Myers and Malcolm Roach. And we can't even really see him do anything yet.
Malcolm Roach had a big play today.
He did. Yes. And he'd tell you about it, too. We can't say what he says, but he'll make a play and then he'll let everybody know. I did that.
Yeah. Malcolm Roach, John Franklin Myers, these are energy guys.
Yeah.
And, that's when, Sean Payton kind of talks about the energy. It's not just the youthful guys. It's some of the newer guys coming in that are mid-career players, but they too are bringing a little adrenaline shot to the team. And then you have that building on everybody coming back and everybody buying in. Like, one thing that I noticed today, they're still working on situational stuff. Sean Payton likes to do his, situational type of work at OTAs, minicamp, and training camp. And last year, he would basically bring practice to a halt to explain why they were doing something. Why are we working on a missed field goal return? And explain, why are we working on this fair catch off of a punt, fair catch free kick, right? Potentially. Why are we working on this? Well, we might see it in this situation. What you have now is, when they work on specific situational stuff, it's not something where he has to grind practice to a halt to explain why he's doing it. There's a buy-in. The veterans understand it, having experienced it last year. And then if there are any questions from the young guys, you've got plenty of veterans who can say, "Oh, this is just what we do. We go through all these situations." It's cool. And what it creates is a more efficient and crisper environment, which I think also is part of why we're sitting here talking about the Broncos and Sean Payton cutting this off one day early.
Right. And you feel the energy. The energy is different. Alex Singleton talked about it. And I believe this is what Sean Payton was answering, because one of our friends was like, "Hey, Alex said that." I think it was Zach that said, "Hey, Alex said this, that the energy feels different. And here's what Sean Payton said."
I think that helps too, year two in what we're doing. And I think the competition helps, and we're younger. Clearly we're younger, and we shouldn't be afraid of that. We embrace it. So there's probably a combination of things that have gotten us to where we're at right now.
We're younger, and we should embrace that.
Wow.
First of all, long-time Sean Paytonologists probably hear that, and they're like, whoa, because historically Sean Payton's been a guy who, favored the veterans.
That does not sound like Sean Payton. What's going on?
Some of it's out of necessity. Hey, when you've got a $53 million hole blasted in your cap for this year, $85 million over 2 years, you have to adjust a little bit.
Hey, the Rams had salary cap problems, and they got real young, and guys like Puka Nacua became superstars.
Look, my question, and I know I said it on this show at some point in the last couple of months, could Sean Payton be like Sean McVay and ride the young guys and just be willing to do that? Because that's how you're going to navigate your way out of this. And look, Payton could have chosen to ride Russell Wilson for another couple of years and not have that dead money and build around him. But when he chose to move on at quarterback, despite that, he was making the choice to go with younger and cheaper players by and large, to have a free agency class that was more about specific needs filled than getting the stars who might have been available. That, okay, we're going to get Malcolm Roach because he does something very well analytically. He's one of the league's best run stuffers. Of course, we've actually seen him make some plays in the pass rush. It's no pads, but that's promising too. Cody Barton, specifically, good in coverage. He's only been a starter for a year. Good in coverage. Can he upgrade you there? Does he give you a better chance to cover tight ends? And so that's, you look at even the veteran moves, they were specific, and getting guys for specific roles, it's cheaper. It's very much like what Bill Belichick used to do. And then you get to the younger players, and we're not talking about the rookies. We're talking about Riley Moss. Riley Moss, who made, Riley Moss is the dude who keeps making plays.
Vance Joseph was excited about him. Lucas Kroll, young player, right? Young can be number of reps. You may have been in the league 3 years, but your number of reps are really low. You're young.
Yeah. It'll be fascinating to look at this starting lineup and see what it looks like. Like at center, for example, you've got a three-way competition between Sam Mustipher, Alex Forsythe, and Luke Wattenberg. Two of the three guys are young. Wattenberg's barely played. Forsythe didn't play at all last year, never got a jersey. You're going to have to live with bumps, but that's where that's where the veterans you do have maybe have a little bit extra on their plate. They got to boost a little bit. Like, let's say Lucas Kroll is playing more than Adam Troutman, which is possible. Part of Troutman's job is making sure that Kroll's covered and supporting him and giving him good advice. Part of the job for Quinn Miners and Ben Powers, potentially flanking a young center, is going to making sure that if Wattenberg or Forsythe needs help diagnosing something pre-snap, that they're on the lookout as well. They've been around this league. They know what they're doing. What that also does, Cecil, as I'm thinking about it and kind of in rough draft mode, is it helps bring the team together. It's another layer of bringing it all together.
Communication.
Having everybody on the same page, because those vets have to help those young players along. And hey, it's exciting. Listen to the way PJ Locke last week was talking about now how he's a leader and assuming that role after Justin Simmons has moved on. And it's now he's the one who's sitting there with the younger guys like Larry and Turner Yell and JL Skinner and Devin Key, kind of pointing out, hey, it's what you need to be doing. So it's a functional team.
It's a team. There's
trusting the young players, the veterans helping them, and together, together everyone achieves more. TEAM, team, right? Oh gosh, I sound like a motivational poster.
There's no I in team, but there's an I in win.
There ain't, but there is a me in team. ME.
Well, here's the other thing, Mace.
But there's no we. I remember there's no I in team. There ain't no we either.
Ha! I will say this. And D'Amico Ryans with Houston was the same thing. They had to play the young guys, and they were outstanding. And I told you on the way home a conversation that we've had previously, as I repeat myself, Mace, but I just said they're so young, they're not going to know they're not supposed to be good yet, because sometimes things get in your head and it's like, oh, here we go again. But these guys are so young and they're just like, come on, guys. And that'll change the outcomes of games. They'll win games that they have no business winning because they're so young. They don't know they're not supposed to do this.
Exactly. And that's where you hope that there's enough of a reservoir of success that gets built up to kind of help you through the down times, because the one thing you worry about is the loss of confidence when things go wrong. Like what happens when you have that 3-game losing streak? You can't crater.
Right.
And that's
you don't have
where
an early bye. You don't have a midseason bye.
Mm-hmm. One thing, though, and I think about this for someone like Bo Nix coming from the college ranks, where you lose, before the playoff era, the 12-team playoff era that college football embarks on this year, one loss might doom you. It might be like, one loss and you're playing in a bowl that nobody gives a crap about, or you could lose no games and you play in a bowl that's forgettable. Look at Florida State last year.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. You get to the NFL, you know what? He can have a 2 or 3 game losing streak and bounce back from that.
Yep.
One loss is not the end of the world. Admittedly, it's one of the things I like about covering pro football rather than college football.
Mm-hmm.
Is that you can be 0-2, and I mean, it may seem like the sky is falling, but you're not out of it. You can get back into it. Look, if the young players need to find any example of that, talk to the vets who saw this team start 1-5 last year, and then they won their next 5 games. Was it flukish on some once every generation fumble recovery luck? Yeah, that played a part in it, but the team also changed its style, throttled back the offense, compensating for Russell Wilson what he couldn't do, adjusted, defense played better. Remember, you got Baron Browning back about that time, and it clicked. And you had the best run of football for the Denver Broncos since Super Bowl 50 in terms of performance, even though there's a little luck involved. So that's a reminder. Like if this team, I went through the schedule. I got this team starting 0-3, but then I got this team putting together and winning 5 in a row. So,
Yep. How do you respond?
Yeah. And the young player, as long as the young players don't lose the confidence, and this is where kind of that teaching comes into play, and even during games, reminding guys these are teachable moments. Mm-hmm. Even though the NFL doesn't really offer you much of a chance to kind of take a graceful building process, you kind of have to do that here a little bit and understand that, there are going to be some moments in games that are they're teachable and you're going to learn from.
You're going to learn and you're going to get through it. And you're going to be better on the other side. Like it's you don't know it yet, but you're going to be okay. Mm-hmm. That's kind of that motherly advice when you go to college, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be okay. You don't know it, but you're going to be okay.
It's part of the growth of not just the young players you have coming in, the new players, but the new young players, but the young players who are holdovers and the veterans who are holdovers. You're going from year 1 to year 2. It's different. There's and growth is not necessarily straight line. It's sometimes back and forth. But it's funny to think this about a team that's got, a young quarterback potentially. And, there are people out there who'd say this quarterback situation is 32 of 32. I don't agree with that. But a team that's got a lot of questions, and at the same time, the team with a lot of questions seems to be more focused and more on the same page than it was at this time last year.
A lot of questions
and more comfortable. More comfortable.
Comfortable because of the leaders in place. And that's the thing, man. The national thing, and I'm not going to get into like a Denver Nuggets disrespect, but it's like, okay, the national narrative is going to be these guys suck. Why are we playing a Broncos game? Sean Payton, they got the 6th quarterback, or whatever horrible takes are out there. The God's honest truth is they're well coached, well disciplined, and they have young talent.
Yeah, it's going to be QB 6, 7 straight losing seasons. Only the New York Jets have missed the playoffs for more consecutive years, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, yeah. Oh, you got a bigger dead, you have 53 players on the roster. You got $53 million of dead money. Whatever. It's it's like Cleveland in Major League.
Well, nobody believes in you. And you know what that
Yeah.
is? That's the best time to win. And the national
Mhm.
audience, there will be national shows in October that are like, how are the Broncos 6-2 or whatever?
Yeah.
You know, that'll happen.
How are like if this team is sitting there at 8-6 and in the thick of the playoff race, it's gonna be hey, check out those Broncos. How are they doing it? Like it's smoke and mirrors and all that. But
Check out the
I
big
think
brain on Brad. Before the Baltimore game, I have him as 6-2. You have him as 5-3.
yeah. And then, well, I don't have a good feeling about that after that, but
We'll see.
this is where confidence can help as well. I would even say last year with a more veteran-oriented team, the confidence that grew over the course of that winning streak. I mean, I think, for example, the confidence they had was what helped them beat the Vikings on Sunday Night Football.
Mm-hmm.
They played badly most of that game. They were behind most of that game.
Mm-hmm.
But they dug deep and didn't let the Vikings finish them off when Minnesota had a chance to deal the haymaker. And because of that, they took that lifeline and they climbed back up and they end up on top for that night. And sometimes that's what it's about. You get that, you take that lifeline. Now, of course, that being said, one thing that Russell Wilson did well, comebacks.
Sure. Yeah.
How these quarterbacks do, whoever ends up playing in that type of situation, that is decidedly TBD. It's part of what we're going to learn this year.
Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be too over the top with the statement, Mace.
But
there was a Russell Wilson click, not as much as Shadur and Boulder. That's a whole different show.
Yeah.
But there was because now you mentioned they're a better team. Like they're a team. They're connected. If they did have a comeback led by Russ, because Russ can make comebacks, it was Russ did it. It wasn't like we did it. That defense played out of their mind.
Yeah.
But it was Russ did it. And now it's like, as Nix grows and all roads lead to Bo Nix, it's the team that's winning together, growing together.
We'll take the Chicago comeback last year. To me, that's a team comeback.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it's like, hey, Russell Wilson, couple of touchdown drives. Yeah, I also think of Delarian Turner-Yell making a big play out of nowhere. I think of Nick Bonito strip sack on Justin Fields and then Jonathan Cooper picking it up and going all the way with it. It was – I referred to that comeback because it even had a long field goal by Will Lutz at the end. I refer to that comeback as a three-phaser. All three phases. Offense, defense, special teams made that happen.
Yep.
Those are the best. Those are the best kind of comebacks. They're the best kind of games. Are three phasers where you say everybody played a part here in making this happen. It was the cool thing about the Kansas City game last year, right? You had, defense came up big, harassed Patrick Mahomes. Offense capitalized. Although, like we said, we've talked about Russell Wilson, an odd game numbers wise. And then you've got the special teams generating a takeaway as well as set up a touchdown. Three-phaser.
Yep.
Felt good.
No, it's good. It's good to see, good to feel the energy out there as well. And it is different. It is different because of youth. And it feels like Sean Payton is ready to embrace that. And that's good news for this team.
He's ready to embrace that. But again, I still do wonder if this thing crashes on some rocky shores, how is that going to feel? Do you stay the course? I hope so. I hope that there's not a panic. I hope they stay true to this. Maybe not so much a plan, but
direction.
Going young is a direction.
Mm-hmm. Going to be some lumps. Got to take your lumps with those young kids and then grow, and hopefully they get better and learn from their mistakes. That's what we've seen in OTAs and mandatory minicamp.
Mm-hmm. How about Sean Payton going from year 1 to year 2 as well? Like, because this was in response to a question asked by Troy Rank that you referenced, but it's a different Sean Payton that we've seen. Again, I wonder what it'll be like if it gets a little bit hairy this year, but he seems in a much better place than he was last year.
Look, there's probably a little bit of that first year where you're pissing on all the trees. And I'm probably guilty of that. But I think it's the thing. Look, I got into coaching and teaching with the idea that I was going to be a college coach, hopefully maybe in the Big Ten. And then this career is interesting. It'll take you places that maybe you didn't expect to. And I've always, when young coaches will ask, you always talk about being present, where you're at, where your feet are at. And then the other stuff kind of takes care of itself. And that, I would say, happened with me quite a bit. And so the reward of seeing someone develop and accomplish and then gain confidence, the reward of that constantly comes with new players, with veteran players, and it's kind of addictive.
Comes with other coaches as well.
Yeah.
I didn't necessarily piggyback off Troy's question, but I did ask it a little bit later about, like, you got a couple future head coaches, and it's like you feel pride. That's why I said great leaders create great leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you feel pride when guys are going to get jobs elsewhere, or players are going to the Pro Bowl, or like your guidance. You can say, I was there for that, or I might have been a part of that, or I told him this and then he did that, and then bang, bang. Like, it gives you a sense of pride, almost as a proud parent in a way.
Not just pride, but it's part of a legacy. One of the reasons why we talk about Mike Shanahan and his Hall of Fame candidacy is because he has this coaching tree.
Oh my God.
That is right now second to none in the NFL. And
Massive.
thus Mike Shanahan, who hasn't been the head coach for a game in 10 years and 5 months, is more relevant now than ever. That's part of it. So you see Dan Campbell succeeding. He mentioned Dennis Allen, Doug Marrone. Marrone had some success in Jacksonville for a bit, got into the AFC Championship game. Yep. Hasn't quite clicked for Dennis Allen in New Orleans, but it's not going to be 100%. But you look around and you look at this staff, and could Zach Strief grow into being a head coach? Could Jim Leonard grow into becoming a head coach? Can Vance Joseph potentially get back to being a head coach after being around here? I mean, these are
the next head
Davis
coach.
Webb. Like, these are this is part of it as well. And Sean Payton had a great line that he talked about when he was referring to a conversation he had with the late Saints owner Tom Benson, who wasn't happy about all these coaches interviewing elsewhere. It's like, the problem is when they don't want to interview your staff. Right.
Mm-hmm.
The Broncos lost a coach this past offseason. They lost Christian Parker to Philadelphia. Allowed him to get Jim Leonard, who looks to be doing really well. Was watching Jim coach the safeties today, and
it's fun. There's some things they're doing that we can't say.
It's a little bit of a secret weapon.
And wanted him last year.
Yeah.
Sean Payton said that today.
We've talked about this. This isn't news. Like, he wanted Jim Leonard on his staff in 2023.
Yep.
But after Leonard didn't get the Wisconsin head coaching job, he had hip replacement surgery, and he elected to just focus on that, which is why he took last year as a consultant year on Brett Bielema's Illinois staff.
Yep.
Deep down, that must have hurt an old Badger a little bit, having to go work for the Illini for a year. I didn't ask that. At some point, I'll ask Jim Leonard, are you okay wearing orange and blue? He might be like, well, it's not good, but it's better than black and gold, Iowa colors.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, like Riley Moss was telling me that he and Jim have given each other some crap back and forth about that, about their rivalry. But there's a little, it's all part of working together, though. Little ball busting is also part of bringing this whole thing together as a unit.
Yeah, right. Yeah. If you're comfortable, you can do that. If you're together, you can do that. If you're on the same track, you can do that, right? Like, I think it's important. And you see this team coming together. The energy's good, and it feels good. Like we don't have practice tomorrow, which is going to be odd, but we have a bunch of stuff to do. But like, so our schedule is now free, Mace. Your shows are not going to stop, though. Oh my God, do we have a chock full calendar for you while we're getting a little sun?
We've got plenty to come. Plenty to come. It's going to be a busy few weeks here. I mean, look, I might be sitting by a pool having a cold pop. I might be sitting in a baseball game having a cold pop.
Yeah. And some peanuts.
Yes. And Cracker Jack. I don't care if I ever get back. But we're still going to be here. We've got you covered. This is a 52-week-a-year show, and we've got it all coming for you coming over the next few weeks. And some really interesting discussions as well. So some thought-provoking discussions too.
I hope so. And I hope that folks can help us out on YouTube because we're over 12,000 subscribers. I want another 12,000 and more. So Mace, how can they help us out on YouTube?
Like,
comment,
share,
subscribe,
hit that notification bell
so that you
never miss a vid.
Metronomical today.
I like it.
Tonight on OBT2, he's Andrew Mason. Follow him on all the socials at Mace Denver. That's right. I'm at Cecil Lammey saying OBT is a BFD. Thanks for watching. Stay tuned and stay frosty.